Welcome to another edition of From Beyond Champaign. I'm Cody. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Cody_CHGO. Welcome back to another episode. The regular season is so close. It's so close, folks. We got a little bit of a taste on Sunday. Unable to do any more player previews last week, so I apologize. I'm going to try and knock some out tonight on top of the fact of talking about the exhibition game that was on the SEC network yesterday that I was able to catch about, I'd say I was able to catch about 25 of the 40 minutes. So before we dive into it all, hit the like button, please. Hit the subscribe button if you're new, if you're seeing this. If you're not live and you're seeing this, I do Illinois content, Illinois basketball content, and a little bit more of that too. But anyway, mainly Illinois basketball content here on this YouTube channel. So, yeah, if you're into that, hit that subscribe button. And again, hit the like button. I appreciate all the supporters we have gained so far. Anyway, let's dive into this exhibition game. And then I want to talk about a few other players before we end this one. This one might be a little bit longer than the recent ones. So we'll see how long I can talk to myself in front of my MacBook Air. So Illinois lost, 91-74 the other day, Sunday, 91-74 against Ole Miss. An exhibition game. Let's just put the facts out there. It was an exhibition game, meaning the game doesn't count. Basically, Brad Underwood did not go into this game with expectations. I don't even know if they necessarily had a real game plan. I think he just wanted to see this team play, in a rough road environment. It's an exhibition game, but you're still on the road. And Ole Miss, going into this game, was ranked the 24th best team in the country. It wasn't like you were playing some cupcake. You're going to get 3 cupcakes before you get Alabama when this season starts. But I feel like we got to set expectations at a certain level, not too high, but not too low either, right? So let's just go over again the facts. I don't think Brad cared if they won or lost this game. Again, it's an exhibition game, and you're trying to figure out roles. You're trying to figure out, which guys mesh well together, all these things that honestly will take the entire non-conference season to really figure out, especially for this team. Now, if they were an older team that had played together, similar to last year's team, then perhaps I would have less patience. But I think one thing Illini fans are going to have for this team in particular, the 2024-25 team, is patience. And I'm not sure if it will be a bumpy road along the way, or and what I mean by bumpy is like, will it just be ugly for the first, 7 games and then suddenly be better as time goes on? Or will they play well and look like a well-oiled machine against Eastern Illinois, SIUE, and Oakland, and then have that real big, just like, wow, we're so far behind when they play Alabama? Or will we all basically feel the same after, let's just say, the first 10 games? I think for me, that's the question. My expectations, it's hard for me to not have high expectations because of where Illinois is at. Last week I did a short podcast on my expectations for Kylan Boswell and my expectations for KJ Yakisonis. I think that's how you say his name. I've practiced it since last week. My expectations are high for those two and a handful of others. That said, those are individual expectations. As a team, though, these guys have never played together. except for Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn and Ty Rogers. So for me, I think it's unfair to have super high expectations at least these first 2 months. I think this team is a team that, if all things go right, if this team grows as the season goes along, and your top 5 in the Big Ten conference come February, you will have seen growth from every single player, and the chemistry grow along with that, on top of the fact of players just getting better and knowing their role and playing well within their role, right? That's a lot to ask, really. It really is, but that's why Brad Underwood is paid what he is paid. It is his job to get this team from point A here on October, was it 28th? Is it October 28th? I'm getting all these notifications on my phone. What is today? Look, come on, stop. Apple Watch. Yes, October 28th. From October 28th till, I don't know, which is put February 1st. From October 28th to February 1st, Brad Underwood's job is to get this team from, I mean, we're just outside the top 25 AP poll ranking. Not that that ranking matters, but let's just say, whether you want to look at KenPom and go offensive efficiency and defensive efficiencies, what? Best case scenario, Illinois is a top 20 offensive efficiency team, and defensively top 50. Is that okay? Should I have higher expectations? I don't know. As far as wins and losses by February, if they're top 5 in the Big Ten. That's what they're projected to be. But college basketball is college basketball. Some things don't work out. Some guys don't mesh well. That's why we see people transfer all the time. I hope that's not happening. That doesn't happen with Illinois. We've seen it in the past, though. As much as I am a Brad Underwood guy, we've seen guys come here and it just not work out. And it takes them a while to get things figured out. So, am I worried after this one exhibition game? No, I'm not worried yet. And we can go over some things that I guess I can say I'm concerned about, and we can go over some things that I can say that I'm excited about. Let's start with the good, because obviously the weekend was terrible if you're an Illinois fan. As you all know, I'm a pretty fair weather fan when it comes to Illinois football. And I watched the first half against Oregon, and then I turned it off. I promise you. I turned that shit off, and I didn't think about turning it back on. I gave it a chance, and then I was done. It was an absolute bloodbath, all right? And then I was hopeful, optimistic that the basketball team would give us something to be excited about before the regular season starts this week. And unfortunately, they didn't really do that, depending on what you were hopeful for. And I guess what I was hopeful for was to see maybe the veterans play better than they did. I didn't feel like the veterans played that well in this game. And what I mean by veterans, I mean like guys who are, at least been at this level for a year. There was one guy who played well that is in that category, and that is Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn. All right, I'm going to talk about him here in a little bit, but overall, I wasn't impressed with Kylan Boswell. I wasn't really impressed with this is another guy that I struggle to say his name, and I don't want to mess it up because I too have an obscure name. Humricus, that's how I keep hearing other people say it, so that's how I'm going to call it. The guy from Evansville. All right, I wasn't impressed with him. And Trey White. I think Trey White had some moments, but also I'm a little concerned just because he's coming from a program that was not good. And I don't want him to bring those bad habits to this program. And I don't think he will, but I just really wasn't impressed from Trey White. Those are my 3 guys that I wasn't really impressed with. That doesn't mean I'm worried. Doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that I'm really concerned. I'm just saying that for this particular game against Ole Miss, I was not really impressed. And for this team to be good, especially here at the start of the year, those three guys, I think, they have to be productive because the freshmen, Will Riley, KJ, you know, those guys, they are clearly probably your best scorers based off even in this game. But they can't have a ton of pressure here to start the year. You need to let those guys grow into their roles and then also like get used to the level. I think from KJ Kasparas, there was a mixed bag. You saw a lot of good. You could see that he loved playing in transition, likes to do that pull up three in transition. And he also had some bad turnovers. I think he led Illinois in turnovers. It's here on the screen. Yeah, he had, I believe on the screen it says he had 4 turnovers, which led the team, or at least tied for the team. I think Ty Rogers also had 4. I guess for me, you just can't rely upon those guys too much to start the year. I think they need to be able to grow into their roles. That's where I'm at. And that's why you need some of these older guys to kind of step up and kind of lead the way. And then once those freshmen start gelling, then you can really take off potentially, right? So another name that I should have mentioned as a young guy is Avishik. Avishik? Is it? I've heard it said multiple times too. Is Avishik? I'm going to say Avishik, who was 12 points, 5 of 6 shooting, and he was 2 of 3 from the 3-point line as well in 23 minutes. Him and Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, I think, were the most encouraging. I think Thomas Love, his defense, especially guarding the 3, wasn't exactly encouraging, but whatever. It's one game. And again, no game plan, truly. So, and also, I still don't know the status of him. Like, is he going to be able to play in this first game? This is something that I need to learn more about, or we need to learn more about. But if any of you know, let me know in the comments. So I think I'm doing my best to kind of explain my stance on how this game played out and how I feel about it. There were good things, there were bad things. The defense, they gave up 91 points. You can easily say that the defense wasn't good. I could also say that Ole Miss just shot the ball really well. I think the reason they scored 91 points is because Illinois had 22 turnovers. I thought the defense was a lot better in the second half, but they just turned the ball over way too much. And honestly, I've said this in past shows last year in year 1 that Brad Underwood, his teams, they tend to turn the ball over way too much. You saw it in certain parts of last season where if they turn the ball over 15 plus times, sometimes it leads to some chaos that might result into a loss, or it might result into a game that you're just not feeling very encouraged about moving forward. This team is young, so I'm going to assume that turnovers are going to be an issue to start the year. But you can't turn it over 22 times. You just simply can't. And they had a ton of turnovers the first 10 minutes of this game. That's something that you got to clean up. You can't have 22 turnovers. And again, that's why I think that they scored 91 points. Ole Miss scored a lot in transition. All right. So to me, biggest thing to shore up going into these first 3 games against some of these non-conference mid-major opponents is you can't turn the ball over. All right. You gotta limit these turnovers, and you need to, if you're gonna turn the ball over, you can't, they can't be any of these like just easy throw the ball away, throw the ball out of bounds, like things that are really unforced. They had way too many unforced turnovers in this game against Ole Miss. That's probably my biggest criticism of the entire game as a whole, as a team. Every time you felt like they were making a little bit of a run, would go on like a 6-7-0 run, they would shoot themselves in the foot by turning the ball over. All right. They shot 43% from the field. They ain't shoot, lights out, but you can win shooting 43% from the field. They scored 74 points. I don't think this team is going to have a problem shooting the ball or scoring the ball. It is defense and it is turnovers. And Brad Underwood had publicly said, the defense was a problem, or he knows that it's a problem, and it's going to take some time to get to a level where, it's improved, right? So again, you got 3 games here before Alabama to work on that and work out some kinks, figure out some roles, and we'll see how they play. I'm trying to not take too much from this game. I love what Brad said at halftime. He did a halftime interview with the broadcast, and he talked about the good and the bad. He also talked about how he wants more of these types of games so they can work through the kinks and just kind of be a little bit more prepared going into the season. They've done a scrimmage against Butler, and then they did this exhibition. I think he would love it if they would add in 2 or 3 more exhibition type games, and kind of like a preseason of sorts, right? So yeah, overall, based off everything he said, I think we can be a little concerned, but mostly we need to see more. We need to see games that matter. And then if things consistently happen, then I think we can, raise our eyebrows and point the finger at someone. But so that's a little bit of a combination of the good and the bad. The bad, mostly turnovers in the defense. The good, I really loved what I saw out of Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn in this game. Okay. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, let us not forget that Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn was a guy that 2 months into last season, people thought he was absolutely transferring. All right. The Purdue bots on social media just would not shut up about Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, because even though they say we're not a rival with Purdue, we kind of live rent-free in their fan base's head. And it's largely because we know they're number 1 in this conference, but we're right there, if not 1, we're 2 right behind them. Okay. But people forget that everyone thought this guy was going to transfer, but he decided to stay. And then in this game, 15 points, 6 of 10 from the field, 3 for 6 shooting the ball from 3, in 22 minutes. He had 2 turnovers, but I think he's a guy that can be similar to that Justin Harmon role last year. Like, he's not a pure point guard, but he is a guy that, can shoot the 3 a little bit, can bring the ball up the court probably, and, dribble drive, maybe get a tough lay-in, cause some havoc in the paint. Obviously, Illinois loves to do the driving kick. I think he can do that. But I also think he can spot up on any corner of the court and shoot that 3 ball and shoot it at a high percentage. I really do think that he can be somewhat of that X factor for Illinois, especially here in the early part of the season. 1 year in, he's going to have a bigger role this year. He got great experience in the NCAA tournament last year. I think it was the game against Morehead State that he hit some big shots in. I'm excited about DGL, man, because there were times last year where I was begging to see a little bit more of him, because he would come in and he'd play really good defense. He would play hard, play defense. There was one particular game, I can't remember who they were playing, where the offense was playing so bad, and Brad Underwood took the entire starting 5 off the court, and he put the bench in, and that included DGL, and he came in and kind of sparked the team a little bit. I want to say maybe it was Iowa. I can't remember. I won't put words into the air that are false, but there was a game last year where I felt like he kind of helped spark the team a little bit when they needed it. And he's going to have a bigger role this year, and I think that his shooting can be a really big part of this team. And I do think his on-ball defense is really good as well. And for a team that struggled defensively on Sunday, again, whether you want to put too much into it or not, I do think that he had a great game, and I do think his role will be very, very important for their success because you don't have a Terrence Shannon, you don't have a Marcus Domask, and like, sure, you might have NBA talent on this roster, but to put high expectations on a guy like KJ right away, it's unfair. So they're going to need some of these young but experienced guards to kind of help him along the way, and while also growing themselves. This is a huge year for DGL. It really is. So I was happy to see him have the game that he had, especially with everything that's gone on since he came to Illinois. The rumors, the quote unquote controversy on whether he was going to stay or transfer. To see him do this in this exhibition game, it's encouraging. Again, exhibition game, I know, but Illinois is going to need him to be a productive player off the bench this year. And again, I think he can be kind of like what Justin Harmon was last year. And that's really solid. Justin Harmon, I know he kind of fell off towards the end of the year. I think DGL can play that role and play it better because I think he's better. I think he's better than Justin Harmon. Okay. So if you can shoot 50% from three more often than not throughout the year, you're going to not only will you get minutes, but you'll become a fan favorite too. Okay. All right. So DGL was one guy that I wanted to talk about. Like I said, we just did. Let's talk about Morez Johnson next. All right. Morez Johnson, he played 13 minutes, had 7 points on 3 of 4 shooting, only shot 1 of 4 from the free throw line. So I'm going to have to get used to that, I guess. But I loved his presence in the paint. 6 rebounds in this game against Ole Miss. But in 3 of 4 from the field, I felt like you could see he was active down low. And I don't know what to expect from him his freshman year, but he's highly touted for a reason. And I am curious to see how his season goes. Everyone's talking about Kasparis and Will Riley and all these other guys. And I don't think people have forgot about Morez Johnson, but I do think that there is a role for him on this team. I just don't know the minutes. I don't know what, how consistent they will be. Interested in people's thoughts about Morez Johnson. But I liked what I saw in even just the 7 minutes. If he's a guy who's going to play 7 to 10 minutes a night, come off the bench, give you 6 rebounds and 7 points, that's incredible. That's incredible, honestly, considering who they have starting, at the big positions for Illinois. I'll take 7 points and 6 rebounds, man. I will. Okay. He didn't have any fouls in this game either, So I liked how active he was in the second half of that game, and yeah, I'm excited to see his growth throughout this season. Okay. Let's go a little negative here with some of the young guys. Will Riley. Now, there was good and bad. It was kind of like a mixed bag from Will Riley, all right? He was 2 of 4 from the three-point line. For the game, he was 2 of 8. And I felt like he also took some contested, like, why are you taking these shots? Like, he would go up and shoot it, and I'm sitting on my couch, and I'm like, no. And then, like, it's an air ball, like – you could tell he's a freshman. You could tell that it's going to, he's going to learn from this and that. But you can see why he was also highly touted and why he is going to have a big role with this team as the season goes along. I think the 3-point shot is certainly there. And I think he's an athlete too, someone who might be able to score off the dribble some. I'm curious to how his role is going to shape up. I really am. Like, you have so much here of guys who can put the ball in the basket, but not everyone is going to put up 20 points. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyway, he had 7 points on 2 of 8 shooting. His 2 turnovers were not good. All this in 19 minutes. So, yeah, I, I wasn't. I think all I'm saying is that I think there was a mixed bag. You could see the shooting stroke. He also took some shots that I feel like just weren't good shots. And if that happens in a regular season game, it's going to make me want to pull my hair out. So again, interested in you guys' thoughts on Will Riley and Morez Johnson going into this season. Okay. All right. Um, Anyone else? Who else? We can go through the rest of the stat line here. You know, one, two, three, four, five. Five guys played 20 minutes or 20 plus minutes. Trey White played 18. Um, Riley played 19. Rogers played 14. You know, Rogers, he's a guy that I feel like I shouldn't be worried about. We have 4 turnovers in this game, and he's a glue guy, right? Like, I feel like, okay, DeMonte Williams, who doesn't shoot threes, he's gonna do dirty work down low. He's gonna get big rebounds. He'll tip the ball out to create an extra possession. He'll play good defense. All these things. But Illinois spent all of the offseason, and when I say all, I mean parts of the offseason, where they would put out like little highlight reels of like the guys playing at the gym. And they would always include Ty Rogers shooting the three. Is this guy going to ever shoot the ball? I'm not even asking him to shoot the three. I'm asking him to find some sort of mid-range jumper though. Like he can't go out there for 14 minutes and not shoot the ball once. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about him, and that's only because I feel like the role is pretty much established, that he just does all these little things. But man, it'd be nice if he like added some offense. He'll have some random game. We'll call it the Ty Rogers game, and we'll move along the rest of the year whenever that happens. But like, for a team now that's so young, this is the oldest guy on the team, and I just feel like they need a little bit more from him on offense, or at least a little bit more consistency. You can't go out there, do 14 minutes of cardio and not score. That's all I'm saying. All right. He had 3 rebounds and 2 assists. So it's not like he went out there and did nothing, but it's not like the guy can't score. You know what I mean? So I want to see Ty Rogers be a little bit more aggressive, man. I'm not asking him to lead the team in scoring. I'm just asking for a little bit more aggressiveness and make the other team think. Because how many times last year did we see when Ty Rogers was out there, it was almost like Illinois was playing 5-on-4. Okay. So again, not taking too much from this game in particular, but they need more from him. Okay. What's up, Lazy Forrest Gump? He says Boswell really disappointed me, and yeah, that's a good transition. Colin Boswell, 9 points on 3 of 5 shooting, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. He had 3 turnovers, and the 3 turnovers are really what just kind of annoyed me, because it's like, this guy is also one of the oldest guys on the team. He's still young, but as far as experience, he's one of the oldest guys on this roster, and they, like I said last week, they need him to kind of break out. They need him to be a guy. They need him to be a guy here in 2024, especially here early in the season. We have all these young guys, and you're trying to implement them, and you're trying to get them in situations to succeed. This guy has experience, and Brad Underwood said himself, he thinks that he can be one of the best 2-way guards in the country. Okay. I guess, 24 minutes, 9 points, 3 of 5. Like, the shooting, okay. the turnovers are what really make me want to pull my hair out, you know? Let's see. Yeah. Lazy Force Gump says, I feel like putting Ty in the dunker's spot. KJ will find him. Yeah. I do think KJ had you could tell he knows what he's doing out there. You could see the difference between him and the rest of everyone else. You could see that there's a reason that this guy is, somewhat projected to be a top 20 first round pick in the draft next year, right? I saw a lack of hustle from him. Are you talking about Boswell? Are you talking about Ty? Let me know. I saw about 30 of the 40 minutes of this game because I know that there's just no reason to overreact from it. So yeah, he says Boswell. Okay, lack of hustle from Boswell. Okay, yeah, I kind of feel what you're saying. I just felt like there was a lot of careless turnovers. Like the 3 turnovers he had, it's not like he had 7 or anything, but the 3 that he had, they made me like, man, like you're better than this. Come on now, So I hope I hope I'm not sitting here questioning why he's turned the ball over too much. And again, point guard, you need your point guard to not be able to not turn the ball over like that, right? Okay. So we're about a half hour in. We've talked about DGL, talked about Will Riley, talked about Morez Johnson, talking a little bit about Kylan Boswell right now. Maybe I'm being a little too hard on Trey White, who, again, had 9 points. I just felt I felt kind of left wanting more, even though he had 9 points and 6 rebounds. Maybe it's just the fact that the team itself just did not look incredibly encouraging. And for a game that just doesn't matter, it's kind of whatever. But I do think at the end of the day, and this is like a positive, like this was a learning point for Brad Underwood and his staff and the players too, to figure out like which guys go well with who and this and that. So I think while it was kind of frustrating to watch, it was also a game that they needed. I've been reading a lot of comments like that, like this is a game they needed. And so, okay, well, my big thing now moving forward is like, how different will this team look against Eastern Illinois, SIUE, and Oakland, and then against Alabama, right? Like that's my thing. Like, I hope there isn't that big of a difference, like you use those 3 games to kind of prepare yourself for Alabama while also like not taking them lightly. Like any team can win on any given night, right? We've seen that throughout college basketball over the years, right? You can't take any of these teams lightly, but obviously the talent is completely different on Alabama compared to those other 3 teams. So you need to take advantage of that and get some confidence for some of these young players while you continue to kind of build chemistry, right? Okay. Reading the chat here. We got someone else here. McBrots. Imbrats. I'm sorry, Imbrats. I hope I'm saying that right. He says, we'll see what the EIU game shows us these lessons did. Yeah, that's true, right? Like we got a little taste of what this team can look like. And as much as I feel like I've probably been a little too negative on this podcast, there were good moments too. Like I felt like the end of the first half had some nice moments. And then I went into the second half hopeful for maybe a little bit of a run to make the game closer. And they scored right away and to start the second half. And then KJ had back-to-back turnovers. And you just felt like it was just up and down, up and down. But they would have 2, 3, 4 straight possessions sometimes where they looked like they were getting it together. They need to find some consistency, right? Ole Miss is the oldest Power 5 team, and we're the second youngest. Yeah, it showed. It showed, and also like I've listened to a few other Illini podcasts, and I feel like all of them have said this. Like Ole Miss looked like a bunch of grown men, and Illinois looked like a high school team. And it's not like I'm not saying that as like talent wise, but like some of those teams had some guys who were significantly older too. And this is the roller coaster we have to ride here in 24 with this Illini team. Like it is a year where we will be hopeful and optimistic, perhaps, that these guys will get it going once the calendar flips. But how will they play in this especially hard non-conference schedule in November and December? Like that's a big question. Okay. What's up, Carson? How you doing, man? He says in the chat, I thought Hamerchus played much better defense on Brakefield in the second half, and going to be interesting to see who goes into the starting lineup for EIU if Tommy can't play still. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a big question. Like if he can't play because of the whole eligibility or I don't understand it. I sound like a freaking idiot right now because I probably should learn, and I just kind of go off like what the reporters are telling us because they're more locked in than me. But yeah, if Avishik can't play, then it'll be interesting to see who goes in there. Based off this game alone, all I know is that I'd like to see some more Merez Johnson. That's all I'm saying. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go small and maybe Ty Rogers goes in there and he provides some experience, but what else we got? Carson says, I think they might go small ball with Hamerchus and Rogers at the 4 or 5, maybe Will Riley over Rogers. Yeah. I want to see. They need Rogers to be a factor. Like they absolutely need him to be a factor. Lazy Force Gump says Merez will average a rebound a minute if he plays. Yeah, he was one of the few bright spots from this game, in my opinion. So I'm excited about a lot of the young guys. I'm also just kind of trying to manage my expectations. Everything I'm saying right now, I could completely flip the script after one game. I don't think I will, but I'm just saying. I'm expecting more out of certain guys. I expect more out of Kylan Boswell. I expect more out of Ty Rogers, and I expect more out of Hamerchus as well. Like those are probably the three that I take away from this game that I'm like, I need more out of, right? And I take back everything I said about Trey White. I don't know why I really thought Trey White wasn't that great. You score 9 points and have 6 rebounds in 18 minutes. That's pretty solid. And like I said earlier, DGL was absolutely a spark plug. Lazy Force Gump. He absolutely was. I really think that the the Justin Harmon role could be his thing. So he's going to take some confidence in this first game. And he had a huge game against Eastern Illinois last year, I believe. And I remember this because I went to Eastern Illinois and I remember this game. But yeah, him especially against these three schools who are, I don't want to disrespect them, but they're just like talent-wise, they just aren't at Illinois' level. Guys like DGL, guys like Will Riley, KJ, those guys, they need to build confidence and chemistry together in these games, and then try and take it into Alabama and see how they measure up. To me, the Alabama game will be a measuring test to see just how far back they are from a team like Alabama. Imbrod says, I think Trey got knee bumped and it hurt him. Maybe that's why. I don't know. That happened. You still put up 9 points and 6 rebounds, including 3 offensive rebounds. I'll take it, right? Um, so I don't know, guys. I think I'm trying to be fair. I think I'm being as fair as I possibly can. We're just based off this game. Um, I gave you some positives, I gave you some negatives, but overall, I'm excited for the first game of the season to start. I'm looking at the schedule right now. I can't remember when they play Eastern. I'm looking it up right now. Um, basketball schedule. Here we go. They play on the 4th. Okay. So coming up in the next week, they got a week to prepare for this game. And then they have Eastern on November 4th. Then they have SIUE on Friday, November 8th. Then they play Oakland November 13th. All 3 home games, and then they go to Alabama. All right. So you take away what you can from this this game against Ole Miss that didn't count, that you really didn't necessarily prepare for, and take what you can from it and try to grow from it, and we'll see. I I personally kind of like that Brad Underwood was just kind of like, all right, guys, go out there and let's see what happens. Like, because he, in some ways, and I say it because in some ways it makes me feel like he's just kind of like the rest of us. Like, imagine if you're the coach and you bring all these random dudes together and you just kind of hope they gel based off what you're envisioning in your head. You're not always going to be right about every single one of them, but you gotta set a base, and there was no base. Like they just been playing against each other all summer, and then you had a scrimmage against Butler with no one watching. Send them on the road to go play in a, I guess, hostile environment, a road environment against an SEC team, and see what happens. And I think in some ways, getting your butt whipped by Ole Miss is the best thing that could have happened for him. Okay. Remember they beat Kansas last year, and then they honestly like they didn't exactly instill confidence into me to start the year. If you go back and listen to like the first like 5 or 6 shows from the beginning of last season, I was probably way too negative for a team that eventually went on to the Elite Eight, and I think it was because they had a massive turnover problem at the beginning of the year. And now I feel like that's still going to be a problem this year, at least the start. And I just hope that it gets better as time goes on. Right. All right. Well, that's really all I have. I just wanted to kind of recap this game and go over a few of the players that I really enjoyed watching, and we'll see how we go from here. I might do a couple more player preview shows before the end of the week. And we'll see. There's some video I want to watch. I did watch most of the highlights of this game, even after watching the game. But yeah, we'll I will definitely be trying to at least put 1 or 2 more shows up on the YouTube channel before the end of the week. I got a wedding this weekend, and obviously I got my full-time gig going on, so very busy person, you know what I mean? But I love this program, so we're here and we're setting up. We're almost there to regular season. I'm excited. Always get geared up for Illinois basketball season. And after the football team got murdered by Oregon, not that I think that they're dead, but listen, I used them to get to this point. Okay, so exciting times to be a fan, to be an Illini fan. I think that's the thing. Okay. Lazy Forrest Gump. This is a good way to go out of here. Remember, we were 9-5 the year we were a 1 seed with Io and Kofi. That's true. That's true. This is why I always kind of instill my confidence in Brad Underwood. He just always has his teams ready for like January and February. I feel like January and February are for Brad Underwood. All right. So we got to get through these first 2 months. I feel like it's going to be a bumpy roller coaster, but we'll take the highs with the highs and the lows with the lows, and we'll try and come out as high as we can possibly be. Right. When I had Sonny Verma on, we were talking about those 4 SEC games they got. what? Mizzou, Arkansas, Alabama, and Tennessee. I think fair, and we talked about it. Fair expectations, split. You split 2 of the 4. Best case scenario, you win 3 of the 4. But I think you have to absolutely split at least 2 of them. You got to win at least 2 of those games. So we'll see. Alabama comes real early. And if that one doesn't work out, which at this point I would say it's probably not going to go in Illinois' favor, you got to build off it and then prepare for those next set of games. Especially those 3 other SEC schools. I really do feel like with the talent on this team, they can win 2 of the 4 games. So we'll see. But anyway, guys, made it about 45 minutes. So I appreciate y'all for hanging out. Hit the like button, please, here on YouTube. Only streaming on YouTube tonight. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. If you know any Illini fans who might enjoy me talking to my MacBook Air by myself, tell them, send them my way. Would appreciate any support. Thanks to everyone in the chat, Lazy Forrest Gump, Carson, and Imbrats. I appreciate y'all for being here. You're very familiar faces in here. So it means a lot that y'all tune in to listen to me try and talk about this team by myself. We'll try and get a few guests on. I want to get Mike Carpenter in here before the beginning of the season, and some other guys. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you in the next show. And as always, ILL.